prevent government overreach, and if you support privacy and freedom, I expect you to vote yes on this amendment. Members, this is the Free to Pee amendment. As many of y'all heard during my discussion with Representative Orr, the terms of this bill are incredibly vague. The bill says that a political subdivision or agency must take every reasonable step to keep someone from the opposite sex being in a bathroom or another multiple occupancy private space. What my amendment does is very straightforward. It just says that reasonable steps cannot include the requirement for an individual to have to present photo identification to enter a bathroom. And members, I don't know about y'all, but I can't keep my wallet on me to save my life. If we have a city or an agency decide that people have to present documentation to prove their identity, I'm not going to be able to access that space half the time because I don't know where my wallet is. And a lot of Texans have that same situation. You should not have to pull out a driver's license or a birth certificate simply to pee. And that is the direction this legislation is taking us. This is, as written, this bill is inviting invasions of privacy by government actors. And instead, we should push back and make sure we limit the reasonable steps in this bill by making it clear that you do not have to present an ID just to use the restroom. So members, I would encourage your favorable consideration of the Free to Pee amendment.
Mr. Speaker.
Ms. Gonzalez, for what purpose?
Does the gentlelady yield?
I do.
The gentlelady yields for questions.
So just to clarify, just so everyone's aware, this bill does not detail how this bill is going to get enforced.
No,
right?
This bill says that a political agency or subdivision must take every reasonable step to keep opposite-sex people out of a restroom. Members, I don't know what that means, and the way the bill's written, we could literally get court rulings in different parts of the state defining what that means. And what I anticipate is that cities, counties, etc., are going to put really onerous requirements in place because of fear of litigation. Because literally any person from Texas or another state or even another country can bring a legal claim for up to $25,000 against a political subdivision for violating using every reasonable step. So let's put some common sense safeguards on what every reasonable step means so that we aren't seeing ridiculous lawsuits trying to force our cities to be onerous and require
nonprofits and businesses of all sizes. So I am very lucky to have partners with me here that if you are in need of applying, they are here and they will start the application process with you. So I have two young ladies with computers. Anything that you need, they're going to be able to provide for you, including looking up information if you already have an SBA loan application process. So it's low interest rate loans with long terms up to 30 years. And again, I really want to emphasize the importance. It's not just for businesses. Homeowners and renters are also eligible to apply. So if you are in one of the primary counties, we have the availability for you to come and apply and see if you qualify. If you have settled in your insurance, we'll be able to talk to you about what other needs you may have. Sorry. So that is the Small Business Administration. We're a federal agency and we're here to support and help. Any questions that you may have, please feel free to stop anyone in a blue shirt or a blue jacket like mine. Happy to talk to you and give you any information you may need on the program.
Thank you, Yvette. And I also want to, again, say she's with the SBA, so Small Business Administration, but they have a specific office for disaster and
resilience
and recovery. And that is impactful that you say y'all are doing applications on the spot, right here, today, at those tables. So,
yes.
Wonderful, thank you. I'm going to move on down the line. We are honored to have Andrew Canham here from the Texas Division of Emergency Management. I'm going to throw it to Andrew for introduction.
Awesome, thank you, Mr. Brewer. As he said, my name is Drew Canham. I work with the Texas Division of Emergency Management in the recovery section, and I'm pleased to be here on behalf of TDM. And for those of you who may not know, we're charged by the governor to lead a statewide effort in emergency management in support of the locals, and that's the most important part. But we're here to help you with your needs. And as the mayor and others mentioned earlier, as we visit today and in the future, please speak up and let us know how we can help you, because until you do that, we just don't know.
Thank you, Drew. And last but definitely not least, we have Princess Carol Falconberry. This little inside joke, she told me, is it okay?
Thank
I
you.
asked if I could use first names, and she was like, I want to be Princess.
Moving forward.
Just following directions.
Thank you. I'm Carol Falconberry, and I'm the regional representative for Texas Department of Ag. There's 10 on my team that cover all 254 counties. So we are here to represent and help and assist with ag business and those in production of some sort of niche of which we can assist with. And I cover 24 counties. 11 of them are in the governor's list of disaster. So we know a little bit about what's going on, and I too personally live in a county and have been affected by this as well. So hope that we are here to help. Thank you.
Thank you, Carol. And I'm actually going to start with you with our first set of questions.
Of course you are.
We go way back, though. We'll probably get that. So what is the STAR Fund, which is that agriculture program for disasters?
So the STAR Fund is the State of Texas Agriculture Relief Fund. So it is, the STAR Fund was created solely with monetary donations from private individuals and entities and companies to fund disaster recovery efforts for ag operations. And the STAR Fund is money that is used to assist impacted farmers, ranchers, agribusiness owners in rebuilding fences and restoring operation and paying for other agricultural risk reliefs. Wildlife is included. Per the commissioner last week, he wanted to purposely add wildlife operations, especially because of Kerr County.
Wonderful. And who can apply again?
Again, all ag producers. I want to go in to make sure that this grant fills in the gaps, basically trying to assist with USDA and NRCS and FSA. So this is a maximum of 10,000 that you apply for to get 80%. So to get an $8,000 grant. And this, we're accepting funds up until November 30th. And so there's an application on our website, and anyone in ag production, vineyards, any wildlife as well.
Thank you so much, Carol. I'm going to move to you, Andrew, with another program. So talk to us a little bit about the ISTAT, the Individual State of Texas Assessment Tool, and its purpose.
Yes, sir. The ISTAT tool is very important because it's the mechanism that TDM uses to understand damages that you as a citizen or maybe your neighbors have experienced. It helps us have real-time, comprehensive detail of what's going on. And how that translates directly to y'all in the community is that it lets us know what resources you might need and what services we can get to you. So I think that's why it's critically important. It also, at a larger level, allows us to identify the resources that we might need to ask other federal partners and agencies for to help bring resources directly to your communities. And as we do that, I want you to know that it's important that it's a voluntary thing that you as individuals can do, and that it does not replace your insurance. So you definitely still need to make sure you're taking care of that. And there are two resources I want to tell you about related to the ISTAT tool. One of them is online. It tells you how to do it. If you don't retain this address I'm about to give you, we'll be here at the table and can tell you about it in just a second. But it's damages.tdm.texas.gov. And then, again, at our table, we can help you know what that is. So we'll be here to help you understand how it works and how to fill it out so that you can maximize the resources that you're entitled to.
Yeah, so with that ISTAT, it's basically a way for the public to give that information to TDM so that we, at the state level, can know effectively what the damage is and can react appropriately, correct?
Yes, sir. It's a tool that drives a lot of what we do to help others.
Wonderful. So now we've heard about the STAR program with TDA, the ISTAT tool with TDM, and so that leads me to you, Yvette. What is some programs that the SBA has. What kind of assistance is available?
So we have a few different types of assistance. I'm going to start with homeowners and renters. So for homeowners, up to $500,000 for any physical damage that your property has sustained, and up to $100,000 for your personal property. For our renters, of course, up to $100,000 again to repair or replace your personal property. The deadline to apply for that physical damage is the 4th of September. So we want to stress the importance of doing it. You can do it from the privacy of your home, on your computer. You can visit one of the recovery centers that we're with the state and, of course, with FEMA partners there. We can fill out the applications. Okay, my two friends over here on the side who will do them for you right here. For businesses, a little bit different. We have two different types. For physical damage, of course, if your property was damaged, we want you to come in by the 4th and apply. But then we also have working capital loans. So economic injury disaster loans. We want to make sure we're keeping the business in business. We know you still have fixed debt. You have to keep the lights on, even if you are not currently open for business. So we want to go ahead and look to see how we can assist you with those types of funds. Additional to that, we have mitigation. So if you are approved for an SBA loan, we can increase your loan by 20% to assist with mitigating that damage or any other damage. So to prevent loss of property and or life. So that would include a safer, if that was something that you were considering doing. These loans are low interest rate. We know it's a disaster. To qualify, you have to be in a disaster area. That's where the property must be. You have to have credit that's acceptable to SBA. There's not a number in particular we're looking for. We're going to look at your entire financial picture before making a determination. And then you have to have the ability to repay because it is a loan. So we understand that a lot of people are still working with their insurance. They have not quite settled. SBA may be a tool that we can use to get you those funds prior to you settling with your insurance. So it is a program that we want to make sure everyone is aware of. For everyone involved in the counties that have been declared, for businesses in those counties that are adjacent or touching the primary county, they also are eligible. Their business may have changed due to the event, and they may also be suffering at this time. So we want to make sure that they're aware. So there are multiple counties. If you are adjacent or touching one of those primary counties, you also may be eligible for their EIDL loan program. So we want to make sure that we spread this word. The deadline for the physical damage is so quickly approaching. It seemed like I just got here, but we've been here for quite a while, and we want to make sure that you take advantage of this program. You do not have to accept this loan. If we offer it to you, you do not have to accept it. If the loan is under $50,000, there's no collateral that needs to be pledged. So there are a lot of benefits to having these loans. We want to just have the opportunity to talk to you about it individually at our centers, or even here. We have the time to talk to anyone who has interest in the SBA program.
Thank you, Yvette. And I got to throw it out here that all three of these people, myself included, all four of us, we're all government employees, meaning that we're not for-profit companies or anything trying to solicit or make a sell on any small business or homeowner, whatever it may be. We're here to serve, quite literally, to serve you, this constituents of Texas. So definitely it's worth having a relationship with, in this case, the SBA, whether it's within a disaster or outside of it. I'm also glad that you mentioned that it was, the programs are eligible for both business owners as well as those homeowner aspect as well.
Absolutely, and a lot of the loans that we make will be to homeowners. But we do not want any business left behind without the information available to them. So whatever we can do, however we can get that information to you, we're more than happy to. We have several people within the communities who are doing outreach and speaking to them. But if there's something in particular, my contact information will be made available to all of you. I'll make sure that you have, and you can contact me directly. I'd be happy to answer the questions and point you in the right direction.
I'm going to stick with you, Yvette, for this next question. So what are some of the benefits from applying for an SBA program?
So the first benefit, of course, is that there is no loan payment for the first 12 months. It doesn't accrue interest. So if all you needed it was for 12 months, this may be an option. If you're still speaking with the insurance, that's an option. In addition to that, the interest is low. So it is a disaster loan. It is meant to help. We are not, you can go through the entire process and decide at the last minute, even after you're approved, I really don't want to take this loan. It's okay. You guide your loan. You decide what you want to do, what you don't want to do. If you want to increase the loan, you want to decrease the loan. You guide your loan. That's the most important part. You're in control of the entire process. Now, it is a loan. There is some paperwork that needs to be filled out. But we want to work towards getting you approved, and then you make a determination whether this is what you really want. It's a loan, and nobody likes that four-letter word. We understand that. But sometimes we need it just to get over so we can come back to the stability that we are prior to the disaster happening.
Thank you, ma'am. I'm going to go back to you, Drew, with another question. So how does TDEM help small businesses impacted by disasters such as the recent flood?
Well, I think the way we help the most is, Mr. Brewer, is that we connect people with the resources that they need. So perhaps by directing people to the disaster recovery centers, they can come in, they can speak with someone from FEMA, someone from the SBA like Yvette here, and they can really just sit down and talk to us about, what your family is going through, what you need, how we can help you, what resources do you need, and then with partners from all levels of government and voluntary agencies, we just let you know what's available and you can seek to request those out. There's 2 physical locations in Kerrville, in the Kerrville area, and they'll be here. And, the important thing to know is that TDEM is here for you, and we're not going anywhere until the job's done.
Wonderful. Thank you, sir. And thank you to everyone from TDEM. I know you have a team here. I saw them at the table earlier, so thank you for all. You all have been busy since July 4th, and so thank you. I just want to throw that out there. Moving forward to you, Carol. So we heard about there's deadlines for the SBA program, which you said September 4th, correct?
For physical damage,
For physical.
for working capital loans or our economic injury disaster loans, it will be April 6th of next year, and that's because you may not know your impact right now.
Wonderful. Carol, could you reiterate those deadlines related to the STAR?
Sure, as far as the STAR Fund, the application is due by November 30th. However, if you're already in recovery, you have until next year to fully submit the request for payment on the pre-approval of the application and the repair work being completed. Or even if it hasn't started, we're not as insurance where you have to go out and see it before we give you the money. So it's one of those, if you've already started cleaning up and you're needing assistance, please still go ahead and apply. Part of what I wanted to add also, Jarvis, is we have our agri-stress hotline, and we also have our hay and feed hotline. And we also, in covering this grant, it's for fencing supplies, it's for disposal fees, it's for livestock replacement, it's for labor, for the debris removal. So things that are maybe just on the edges of some of the other things that are more direct, this kind of picks up those fringes.
Thank you. I don't think a lot of people have thought about TDA as assisting in those areas such as debris removal and those other things that you mentioned. So I'm sure you have the information regarding those hotlines.
I do, yes. Come over to the table. I've got all the handout.
Perfect, perfect. TDA's right here on the left. So definitely interact with Carol. I'm going to stick with you for another question, Carol. Is TDA already distributing funds?
They are we've already got quite a few applications, and they're already trying to move forward in the evaluations of all of those. All of the grants, all of the applications are starting to be evaluated, and we're wanting to take in more.
Thank you so much. I'm going to jump to you, Drew, once again. So we were just talking about cleanup and debris removal. Can you describe the current status of the debris cleanup in the area and what's been happening in the communities impacted by the recent floods?
Absolutely. Debris is on all of our minds, right, and getting it cleaned up. I can tell you that it remains the biggest priority among the top priorities that we have here to do, and we continue our recovery efforts every day. To date, we picked up over 600 cubic yards of debris, which is a really nice amount. And we continue to do more each and every day, every time. The debris process is coordinated between local, state, and contracted partners, and the work will continue to be done, and our team will continue to clear that debris until it's done. We're doing debris on public right-of-ways, we're doing private property debris removal, and we're over waterway as well. Important to your community, I think, is that if you have debris on your property, please know that there's a method to pick up private property debris. And if you have a question about that, if you'll come over to the table, we'll be very happy to talk to you.
Thank you so much, Drew. I'm going to kind of shift away from the questions we kind of discussed earlier. And I really have a question for you, Yvette, because I know I spoke with Dylan before about the disaster declaration process. And I was enlightened about how many entities it can go through from the SBA and FEMA. Can you talk a little bit about the disaster declaration process as far as there can be an SBA declared disaster, which can be different from a TDEM declared disaster, which can be different from a FEMA declared disaster?
Sure, no problem. So we are here at the request of the governor. Okay, so we're invited by the state at the beginning of the process. Some things are immediate, so there is a category where everything is immediate. There is no PDAs, preliminary damage assessments done. It's granted, the president certifies this as a declaration. Then there are, that of course will activate FEMA, SBA will be activated with them. And of course with the state, with TDEM, which we work very closely together, they identify places where we will be jointly providing information and assistance to the survivors. Then there are agency declarations. That means it did not meet the threshold for a FEMA declaration. So it did not meet the presidential standards for a declaration. It's an agency. It's a lower number, 25 businesses have to be impacted or homes, and then our SBA administrator will declare that declaration. It's usually smaller. We will come in, it will be SBA only, of course with the supporting TDEM, because they again are the ones through the governor's office that make those requests. There will be rural declarations an area that's rural that may have been impacted. So for that, again, it would be SBA only. It would not be jointly with our FEMA partners. But again, at the request of the state and with the support of the state. There are economic injury disaster loans. It's just EIDL. An example, so that you have an idea, would be the Maryland Bridge collapse. That was not, it did not meet the presidential level of a declaration. It was an SBA agency, economic injury disaster loan only. And so we were there again at the request of the governor with the support of the state emergency management. And we will make these loans, low interest rate loans, available to those impacted in those areas. So those are a few of the different types of disaster loans or programs that we actually execute out in the field. In addition to our district office, so every state has a district office. Texas is super lucky to have multiple district offices, yes. And they are there to support you in other business ventures. The SBDCs, who are our resource partners, they are also there to assist you with any help you may need from them. Maybe it's gathering paperwork, maybe it's writing a business plan. So things like that, we have our resource partners in our district office who are super active. And during a time of disaster like now, we join forces with them and we want to make sure we're talking to everyone. So if you had a question possibly about starting a business or you wanted to speak about contracting with the government, I'm lucky because my district director from San Antonio is here with me today, and I'm sure he would love to take some questions from you. So there are different types of SBA declarations and then assistance available all year long. And we are here as guests. We will eventually leave the state of Texas. Well, I live here, so I won't be leaving, but some of our workers will be leaving back to their homes. And our district office is going to be a point of reference. They're a great group that have all kinds of business services available. So I encourage you to reach out to them also. Even when it's not a disaster, their office is actually really good about getting you into the right classes, the right programs, so that your business can be successful.
Absolutely, and I just now saw David Elizondo in the back. I see you, sir. He represents the San Antonio District Office, which covers this area. So here in Texas, we have 6 SBA district offices, and San Antonio, led by that gentleman in the back, is your representative. Thank you, Brian. So outside of disasters, it is instrumental that you have a great working relationship with your SBA as a small business owner. Also, as Yvette mentioned, the SBDCs, the Small Business Development Centers. There's one out of the UTSA. Trying to think of where I'm at now. We have what SBDC is here today? It is the UTSA. Okay, so they're here to have a table as well. Definitely work all of the information and help that you can have outside of disaster-specific information. We are at the 10-minute warning of the end of this panel, and I do want to open it now for the audience to ask some questions. So there are a couple of members of our small business team who will be, I see a couple hands here.
Hi, my name is Lorena Guillen. I'm the owner of Blue Oak RV Park, 100% total loss. Howdy's restaurant, we had several damage, but we were lucky that we were able to reopen. And we also have Ag Construction. They're all our entire equipment, their inventory, tools, got washed away. I have 3 loans applications with the SBA, and absolutely fantastic, very, very well-educated people that I have dealt with. They have given me all the information that I needed, but I do have a problem. My question is, I bought my property about 3.5 years ago. Obviously, I have a mortgage. My property devaluated 60% according to the appraisal district. So I have a first lien loan on my property. So if I get a $2 million loan from the SBA, which I'm applying for because of the loss, am I going to have to give up my first lien with my current mortgage holder? And 2, why are we paying 4 to 8% interest when my current mortgage loan is at 3.75? So that means I'm getting 2 mortgages now, and my reconstruction time, about a year. By the time I get more people in, 2 years. So I know I'm going to have a minimum 1-year payments up to mortgages. How am I going to afford that?
Okay.
That is it, and I have another question for the Cam after this one.
Okay, let me take the first part of your question. So the SBA can take second or third place lien onto your property. Okay, so that shouldn't be a problem. Again, that first year, once you're approved, you got through the whole process, there'll be no loan payment and there'll be no interest accrued. Now, the interest rate, that is something that is set. We can talk to the your loan officer, and I will speak to you, Lorena, after this panel, and we will see what the best option for you is. But let me go ahead and talk to the office and see how we can adjust, maybe refinance. I know it's a higher interest rate. I understand that. But those are our limits, the statutory limits. It's 4% where there is no credit available elsewhere, and 8% where there is credit available elsewhere for a business. That's what the interest rate currently is.
Now, my collateral is down the river. You know, all my trailers, my tools, my generator, everything. About $500,000 worth of equipment is down the river. That's my collateral.
And that's fine. If you don't have collateral to pledge, we can still do that loan. Okay, and you need to look at it. Now, if collateral is available, then we're gonna ask you to pledge it, but if you don't have collateral, that doesn't automatically disqualify you from getting an SBA loan. So I would be happy to take some time and take a look at your particular case, because it's individual, and we can have a conversation again. So we have the computers here, we're able to register you, and we're able to look up your loan. So for you, let's take some time, and I'll go over that with you.
Appreciate it.
No problem.
And I'm assuming that's probably a situation that many people are in, and that just shows the value of knowing someone and the person being here. So thank you, Yvette. Thank you for asking the question, which I'm sure is on the minds of others. Did you have a second question?
Yes.
They ran off with the mic.
This one is for the gentleman. I'm a business-minded person my whole life. I started my first business when I was 15. So I see potential in everything, including the trash. You just said you got 600 cubic feet of debris, which, by the way, the debris company was on my property a couple of days ago. They finished. Great job. Very, very happy. But the logs, they're separating the logs versus the branches. The logs are being carried away. Those logs, cypress trees, are very expensive. You're talking about $10,000 to and up. So we're talking about millions of trees that came down from the river, that all of the landowners own those trees, and that, what is happening with those logs? They're being carried away on I-10 on trucks, and where are they being taken, and are we selling those logs so we can get some money for us? I mean, this is our properties. These are trees that were on our property, and they're very, very valuable. So what are we doing with those logs, and how we can sell them in order to pay back the landowners that lost those trees? In my property, I lost probably about 50 trees. So, and I'm sure, my neighbor across, he has 300 acres, so imagine that. So we're talking about millions of trees. So how are we handling that?
Yes, ma'am, there's a lot going on in your question there about essentially the logs on your private property, some of them cypress and being especially valuable, and then how is all that being managed? What I would like to do is take that question back to my leadership and ask that question and report it back to your local elected officials who can share that message out. It's a great question.
Thank you.
I'm curious as well. I smoke meats. I know no one here cares, but just getting some oak is not cheap. We have more questions. Okay.
Hi, I'm a small business owner from Comfort. I have a guest house, and I also do digital marketing on the side. And one of my clients depends on recreational river activities to support her rental property on the river. My question for you, just in terms of business planning, and I know this is a very sensitive question, when will we know when the river will be open? We've had discussions at Kerr County before the commissioners. They say that the river is clear and clean. They've been testing the water regularly. But just for business planning, if someone wants to come here on vacation and go kayaking, when will we have a timeline so that we can begin to plan again for the future?
Ma'am, I think that question is similar to the lady that asked before. I want to take this question back, visit with everyone in the locals to work with the local leadership and get that message out to the community.
I'm going to say, as we're getting the next question queued up, I know we only have really time for, tell me one more. These individuals, we have tables here, and there may be some questions that are unique or things that we have to go back, but it's definitely worth asking those questions because that's the way we find these answers. So do take advantage. We have a whole nother hour of resource provider fair from 5 to 6 p.m. Do get those questions. bring them to me if they're related to Office of the Governor, bring them to TDA, SBA, and any of the other agencies, so that if we don't have the answer now, we can take it back to our office and get those answers to you.
Awesome. My name is Kerrville. We have some vacation rentals here and been in this business community for a long time. First, I hope everybody understands that it's a huge sacrifice for everybody who's even in this building, chasing down, filling out forms. That alone is severely affecting our business. The 4 hours that we're spending here, we're not making money, and if anybody hears anything, hopefully someday when there's a disaster somewhere else, they will find a way to come to us and us not have to chase down the resources. So I just wanted to put that on record, but also because we're all learning, right? We're all learning every time there's a disaster, and I want that to go on that learning record. The other question would be, I know actually the first time I walked by the SBA table, and they were like, we're offering loans, and I was like, that's the last thing I want is another payment. Like she said, like, what am I going to get that money? My question really is, I have heard rumors that there's potential loan forgiveness on the other side. And I would love for someone to, I don't want to go apply for a loan just to get it forgiven, but, wow, that was weird, it was like one got cut off. But if there's an opportunity that those loans are going to be forgiven, I also don't want to miss out on money for my business when I just didn't want to take on another payment. So if somebody could speak to that potential, maybe it's a rumor, maybe it's not, but I'm sure some people have heard that as well, so I thought I'd ask the question.
So with the Small Business Administration, I'll take that one. With the Small Business Administration, these are not forgiven. At this time, that was not a process. It has happened in the past. Some of the COVID loans. So if you had a COVID loan, there was a portion of that would have been forgiven. There was additional paperwork you had to fill out. But these loans are not those loans, that program in particular. So these loans will not be forgiven. Will be a loan, and you will have an additional payment, unfortunately. And what we're trying to do is alleviate you getting those funds, taking longer to get those funds. And we understand, and I promise you, we have looked at many different ways to eliminate the process. How can we make it quicker, faster? So we have a portal system now. You go there, you communicate directly with your loan officer. But more importantly, we're at every recovery center that the state sets up. We're there, and we have staff there to help you get through that process quicker. For businesses, it takes a little longer, always, because there's more documentation we have to acquire from you. For a home loan, it probably can be done within 15 or 20 minutes if you have the information there readily available to us. But for businesses, it does take a little longer. We apologize for that. And trust me when I tell you, I'm around from when we did it on paper. This portal is so much quicker. The staff is so much better educated on how to get you through the process and get you the information you need so that you can get to the approval process as quickly as we can. So we do apologize, but I will take that back.
Jarvis, I want to add something too. On these applications, apply. And I apologize as a state agency of any sort or federal agency. There's so many scoundrels that are, if it was easy. And so when you have to go and dig something up and on the third or fourth page and you're thinking, crap, this is taking forever. The money is there, it's just we're trying to get it to the right needs.
Yes. I know we could, let's go ahead and take this gentleman's. We're gonna cut the next break short, but I want this gentleman to speak.
My name is Rich Paces, Kerr County Commissioner, Precinct 2. I'm going to give an answer, and then I'm going to ask a question.
Okay.
So the answer is, the river is open. Enter it at your own risk. This was discussed in our Commissioners Court meeting this past Monday. As far as the county is concerned, the sheriff's deputies won't be prohibiting anything. You have property rights. If you You live there on the river, you're entitled to enter it at your own risk. There's debris out there. The only other qualifier there is if you see divers or other officials who are still doing debris recovery or search and recovery operations, you obviously have to avoid that area and keep your distance for your own safety, for theirs. But no one is going to stop you from utilizing the river, at least from the county side. Okay, now, my question along the lines of the debris and the cypress trees, I've been asked by several constituents if mulch could be available, because we have people that would love to spread mulch on their property and let it turn into topsoil someday. But, you know, in terms of a cost savings, so you don't have to haul it off to Austin or San Antonio or wherever you're sending it, if that opportunity exists, you can save an awful lot with transportation costs and fuel. So I'll ask our TDM rep here to take that back to other authorities to at least consider it. I understand that could get a little out of control, but if there's any possibility that people can utilize some of the mulch, it might be a win-win. Yes, sir.
That's a great point, and that's all I'm writing down as you mentioned it, so I know you're saying it back to the agency. This panel could have gone on for a lot longer, and I wish we could have had the opportunity. You're definitely going to enjoy the next one, which is going to focus on some financial programs. It is now 4:15, which is about the starting time of that one. Take a minute, and we'll get that panel up here, and we'll start promptly in a couple minutes. Thank you.
Horrible. Horrible.
I request the speakers for the next panel to go ahead and come to the stage, please. Ladies and gentlemen, if I go ahead and have you go ahead and take your seats, and we're going to try to keep this on time, get this panel started. I know there's a lot of conversations going on. We'll have time for that, but if I could go ahead and please get you to return to your seats, and we'll get this next panel started. All right, let's go ahead and get this started. At this time, I'm going to turn the program over to Mr. R.J. Hicks, and I hope you enjoy this panel. I think it'll be informative for you.
All right, we'll go ahead and begin. I'd like to start off for a second with some opening remarks. So I want to extend on a personal level my condolences to everyone affected by the tragic and catastrophic events Again, personally, my brother and his family lost 2 friends in the floods. So on a genuine, sincere level, I extend my deepest condolences there. All right, so before I pass it off to our esteemed panelists, I'll very briefly introduce myself and describe what my office does. So my name is RJ Hakes, and I'm the Tourism and Loan Programs Administrator for the Office of Governor Greg. What that means is that I have the honor and the privilege to be a leader in what I consider to be the greatest economic development enterprise in the world. Texas is routinely recognized as the best place to do business, and the Office of the Governor works tirelessly to maintain our standing atop that perch. We know that access to capital is critical to small business creation, growth, and flourishing. And we recognize that for many, that can be a challenge under normal circumstances. So we administer a program called the Texas Small Business Credit Initiative, which leverages significant financial allocations from the U.S. Department of Treasury to provide incentives to financial institutions to help them expand lending opportunities to eligible small businesses. But as I noted, access to capital can be challenging during normal circumstances, and we all know too well that the aftermaths of declared disasters are not normal circumstances. So in their wisdom, our Texas legislature tasked us to administer another program to help participating community development financial institutions, or CDFIs, to support eligible Texas micro businesses affected by declared disasters. Although our programs are not directly offered to the small and micro businesses themselves, we do highly encourage you to visit our lead financial analyst in the back, Shannon Benavides, to learn more about our programs and receive an informative flyer with eligibility criteria and lists of all of our participating financial institutions, so you can contact them. Well, without further ado, we're so honored that 3 of our participating lenders have generously donated their time to come to Kerrville on short notice and participate in this very important panel and discuss lending opportunities with you all. So to begin, would each of you please briefly introduce yourselves, your roles, and explain a little bit about the organizations that you represent and the types of lending you specialize in.
Peace be with you. I'm Gustavo Estrada, President and CEO of People Fund. People Fund is a CDFI, Community Development Financial Institution, certified by U.S. Treasury, and we are also an SBA lender. We partner with banks, we partner with community development organizations, we partner with the Office of the Governor in the Texas SPCI program and MBDR program to offer small businesses loan capital and some grants, and loan capital at concessionary rates.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Eric Donnelly. I'm the CEO of Capital Plus. We are based in Dallas, but we do work all over the state. The business start. We're also a CDFI and B Corporation. We started in 1992. Primarily focused on affordable housing and mortgage financing. And we've done some small business lending throughout the state as well.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Adriano Rosales, and a lot of you in here know me as Adrian, because you can't pronounce Adriano. I'm fine with that. But Live Fund is also a CDFI. We've been in existence since 1994. While we're headquartered in San Antonio, we are licensed to do business across all 50 states. We are a small business lender. We also participate in various SBA programs from microloans to 7A loans to 504 loans. And we have gotten involved in disaster response for small businesses since Katrina. So.
All right, thank you guys. I know that many in the audience may do not, or at least less familiar with what CDFIs are and how they differ from traditional banks or credit unions. So if you guys can each in your own words sort of share what you see the niche of the CDFI is and how that differs from traditional lending institutions.
I'll go ahead and start with that. Our mission is to help small businesses that are not able to access capital through the normal channels. Startups, some industries, banks don't like them, banks don't like startups. Businesses that maybe struggled a little bit and are not bankable for a certain period of time.
That's our niche, to help those businesses access capital. The ultimate goal that we have is to help these businesses become bankable, so they're not depending on our products, but can walk into a bank at some point. So we offer a lot of technical assistance to small businesses, hand-holding, some things, helping with the business plan, how do you balance a checking account? Yes, we have small business owners who don't know how to balance a checking account. And we have people with dreams and to start a business that not quite sure how to go about it, and we help provide guidance.
So I'm a reformed banker by trade. I got out of the banking business a long time ago. And part of the reason I got out of it is because we're not very nimble and we're not very creative. And CDFIs are, and it really allowed me and our organization to be able to serve that to our customers. And I'll just give you a weird banking technique. If you get a mortgage and you have no credit score, you're told to go out and get a charge card and come back in 6 months when you have a credit score. And I had that kind of default brain. I said, that makes a lot of sense, but wait a second. Our applicants are 40 years old and have never had credit. What does that mean? That means they live within their means. Who better to extend credit to than people like that? And so that's a folksy example of the kind of work that CDFIs are able to do, because we get to create the nimble box that we operate in.
Adding to that, CDFIs are not just about businesses. So there are CDFIs that are focusing on housing. This panel is about business. People fund supports businesses, small businesses and not so small. Our loans go from everywhere from $3,000 to $2 million. We do have 504 loans, I think, from that too. Great. Thanks, sorry. And then we also provide new market tax credits, those through the U.S. Treasury. Those are to sponsor larger projects in areas that need jobs and organization. So, those type of projects are much larger. To give you a sense, people fund is a non-profit, right? You think non-profits are small. We've been around since 1994, and we have recently crossed $1.2 billion invested in the Texas economy. 60% of that impact in the last 5 years. So nonprofits can do a lot of support in areas of need. The challenge that we have is awareness, build awareness, and we ask banks with which we partner very closely to tell you, business owners, that we are banks are very important partners of you and CDFIs. They get credits for working with us. They get CRA credits for working with us. So if you go to your banker, the banker cannot help. Instead of saying no, they can call any of us. And we can partner with them, or we can do what the banks cannot.
Yeah, so that's a perfect segue to the next question. So I presume a lot of these small businesses already have banks that they're working with, and potentially in such catastrophic circumstances, they may no longer have the collateral to qualify for their loans and stuff. Can their banks work with you, or how can they go about bridging that gap between the financing need and getting started?
So, as Gustavo noted, we work with banks. We are a non-depository financial institution. We don't have checking accounts, savings accounts, etc. So we don't have that capital to lend out like the banks do. So in working with the banks are our partner, not only referring businesses to us, but they also, a lot of banks provide lines of credit to us, grants and donations to us, other support to all CDFIs, so that we have the capital also to lend out to the small businesses and entities that need it. So, the banks are a key role in helping us help you. The ultimate goal is to be able to help you so that you are bankable. The banking community is extremely aware of the struggles of small businesses. My partner here, I was in banking for 30 plus years, and this has been 14 years in this industry for me. And I will tell you that being a reformed banker, the support we get from the banks is critical to our success and to the success of the businesses that we are helping.
I mean, I don't know about that, but that was great. I think to your question, how do we work together? I mean, we've done creative things like provided a credit enhancement to a deal where the bank's kind of struggling to get the deal over the line. We say, okay, we'll guarantee this percentage of it. Just creative things that rigid financial institutions generally can't do CDFIs.
One of the other ways that we work, I'm sure Gustavo, will sometimes a bank will be willing to make a loan, and they can't fund the entire amount of small business needs. So there are times when we come in behind the bank, take us an inferior position on collateral, and complete the capital that the small business needs in conjunction with the bank. So we work tandemly many times with our financial institutions.
Detail to all of that. But the first place that you go is to talk with the banker. The banker may say no or almost there, right? So ask them to communicate with CDFIs, right? Well, I would ask you to stop by any of our tables there and take the card of our loan officers and take it with you to the bank, right? And then if the bank needs a credit enhancement, right, we are happy to provide. I can think of a couple of deals that we did recently in which the bank provided the first $1 million, $2 million, right? We provided in a second position, we provided the rest of the financing needed for close the deal. And that's how we make it happen.
That's great. So I want to point out before I move on to another question, that I think it's a tremendous commitment on their behalf for these C-suite officials to show up to this. And I also think it's a tremendous opportunity for businesses in need. I would love to have max participation in the programs that I manage, but my programs are tools. They're there to facilitate the expansion of capital access to borrowers across the state. So if our programs are needed and they're actively used, every one of these gentlemen are participants in our programs, both of them. So if our programs can help facilitate that funding, great. They also have other options that they may be able to fund your needs without tapping into us. And there are also SBA lenders. Our program is complementary to the SBA in that it is less restricted and provides a higher guarantee to the lender. So through all of these different options, we really want to expand that capital access to you guys. So in such a circumstance, please take advantage of talking to them if you have financial needs. So can you guys describe other services that you have available besides loans?
Yeah, some are just spring up out of, so as we're sitting here, I'm reminded in 2017, I woke up with half of our loan portfolio underwater in Houston during Harvey. And my immediate reaction was, okay, we're going to defer all payments and we're going to step in. And I was quickly told that that's not really what our borrowers needed. That borrowers needed to understand how to make an insurance claim, what FEMA was, how to navigate that. And so we ended up putting people on the phone holding hands with insurance companies because, probably the three of us take for granted that process. But it's hard. Never borrowed money. First time home buyer. All of this stuff is really intimidating. And so I think what sets mission-driven lenders apart is we are willing to, I can assure you nobody in my office had ever thought about sitting on a FEMA call for 50 minutes at a time, but that's what happens, and that's kind of, to keep saying nimbleness, but that's just how we all react to things, in addition to providing financial products.
One of the nimbleness is important. We We're here specifically because of the disaster response that we can provide to small businesses. And this is something that we woke up to one morning in 2009 after Katrina. You know, how are we going to help these small businesses? And we learned that there was a real need to get capital into the hands of small businesses impacted by disasters. I think the statistics show that 40% of businesses that are impacted by a disaster, if they don't get capital very quickly, the chances are that for them to survive is next to nothing. So, so we've come up over the years with products and a disaster response product. This is something, not our main line of business, but we're prepared to do it. So, we quickly mobilize Katrina, Harvey, Ike, Beryl, the Los Angeles wildfires, and now we're here with you, our neighbors. We quickly mobilize to make sure to get capital into the small business hands through grants. And we also come up with a disaster loan program to where we can get low-cost capital into the small business hands so they can work through the different phases of recovery from these disasters. So the nimbleness helps us come up with these products.
I would add, for example, that loans from CFIs, from the SBA, may take time, but are sources of funds that you can trust. Right? Speed comes at a price. Many people go online and try to get a loan online, and then they get caught into a high interest rate loan from which it's very difficult to get out. Our approach, we recognize that is a loan, right? Someone was saying earlier today that, hey, I don't want to know, I want to receive my business. So on that, we are providing 6 months, no interest, no payments, no fees actually, and recognizing that there's a need immediate for you to start rebuild the business. If you repay that loan in 6 months, it's 3 months from now. So that's one of the things we do. There are people that are providing grants. That's good, but you cannot do much with $10,000, right? So when you get down to it, that $10,000 can actually be the injection that you need for $100,000. And now we're just talking about how to rebuild that business. And then, sure, I represent People Fund, but I'm not shy in saying that the best money available is the SBA right now. So I would suggest that everyone go to the SBA, fill the application like they were suggesting, get informed about the programs, right? And if for any reason you don't qualify or need some other assistance, then the Chambers of Commerce, the Fund, and the USDA are providing grants that also complement something, and we can also work with you and with your banks to provide additional capital as needed.
It's fantastic.
We should plug your programs for us.
Yeah, I will say that TSPCI is also as good as SBA, just put it out there.
Yes.
Some might say superior, I don't know. What advice do you guys have for the audience about how to secure funding? What can you share with them?
As difficult as this is to say, I'm going to say, please have patience. Okay? The process is a process. We know, especially sitting here in the community for the last 6-7 weeks that I have been in the community, we understand the pain, the losses, not only financial and material, but the loss of loved ones. And you don't want to have to sit and go through another process with us. But there is a process that we've got to go through. We want to help, and we will try to get through the process as quickly as possible. But I forget, someone mentioned a little bit earlier, there's a lot of bad actors out here. And I can tell you of all the applications we have received for grants, over 300 applications for grants in the last 6 weeks, 14 to 15% of them are fraudulent applications. So if you're getting fed up with us because we're asking you questions from our documentation, we're trying to be good stewards of the money that we have been fortunate enough to be recipients of, to make sure the money's getting into the right hands and that we can impact as many small businesses as possible.
I mean, I would add that, I speak for all of us, I think. None of us are really selfish. If he does something better than we do, or he does, you know, and so I think that's the part that you'll see with our kind of lenders, is that we are in the business of taking care of people, whether we can do it, SBA can do it, anybody can do it. So I think it's tapping into those resources.
Yeah, we're not shy in referring to our fellow CDFIs when we can't do something.
He said something, and it made me feel guilty. Actually, the loan that we are providing, this 6 month no interest on payment, is that thanks to support from NVIDIA.
You're welcome. Now, can you guys, because of the frankly catastrophic events that happened, many people are wiped out across Central Texas. How do you as lenders, and speaking on behalf of other lenders too, just in general, how do you guys look at risk as, you know, a capital provider? How do you take into account some of the tremendous losses that people may face, and that these might be, you know, in many cases, riskier loans than they would otherwise be in circumstances?
We take an opportunity to look at the applicants prior to the flood, what their operations look like. Prior to the flood, were they in a position where they could afford to make the payments again, you know, credit-wise, cash flow-wise, et cetera. So we will look at it in a little bit, you know, more aggressive way and say, how were they performing prior to this event? And we will base our decisions on that if we can, if it makes sense. Again, to my point of, we're not using our money. This is not my money. This is money that other organizations are entrusting us with. And we need to make sure that we're taking care of their money while we're filling this need. So yes, we will look at it and underwrite it and ask more questions. But being a CDFI, you know, we all can say this here, we're not constrained by the regulatory environment that the banks are constrained by. We don't have, you know, someone looking over our shoulder all the time. We can look outside the box, and we can be a little bit more flexible and a little bit more aggressive sometimes.
I would add that summarizing that, we are not a bank. So we look at things very, very different from a traditional financial institution. We do things that they don't. We also have specific programs. Each of us has specific programs. In our case, we do have specific programs for veterans. On that, veterans receive a flat fee, concession fee, concession interest rate, no fees, and again, loans up to $300,000, $450,000. And then we have better programs that combine the loan with technical assistance or business coaching for those that need it. So there are a lot of ways in which we support the business, not just even the capital, right? Because think about, not always things go as planned. So when that happens, right, our first goal is not collect. Our first goal is how can we help?
That's wonderful. I'm going to take a risk. Jarvis might be mad at me. I'd like to give you guys an opportunity for some closing remarks if you have any. And then I think because the question and answer session, the last panel was so compressed, I'd like to extend it a little bit just in case there's a lot of questions that these guys can help with. So if you guys have anything to close out with, questions.
As I mentioned a little while ago, I've been here in your community now since July the 7th, in person, and my staff have been here. We have gotten to get to know a lot of you. We've heard the stories. We're here to help you, and we're here for the long term.
to open up for questions.
Honestly, it's just a statement. We did apply for the LIFT fund and we received the grant. Thank you. It was a great process. Honestly, I have to say, my mom and 8 others survived on a roof, so I am like chief fundraiser for my mom on top of business stuff, and everyone we have dealt with has been humble and kind and thoughtful and truly feels like everybody is for us, so thank you for that. I did want to say this just because I was confused about it with the LIFT Fund grant. If you receive the LIFT Fund grant, one of the questions they ask you is, or they tell you is, hey, if you take this money, you can't apply for the loan, correct? Okay, and so, and I am and because that loan kind of comes from the SBA, but it doesn't, I thought we couldn't apply for the other one. And so if you would clarify that for someone who thinks, hey, I took that grant, can I still apply for money?
Yes. So the answer to that question is, again, I'm going to go back to my comment about it's not our money. We are stewards of other people's money. The people who help us out with the funding, they obviously want to impact as many small businesses as possible. So for LIFT Fund in particular, if you get the grant, you are no longer eligible for our 0% loan. But you are still eligible to come in and apply for a loan at 5%, our 5% disaster loan. Okay? So yes, you can still do that with us. We've actually had some of you, and I don't know if anyone's in here right now, we've had people actually return the grant money to us because they wanted the 0% loan, which we gladly have accommodated them.
While we're looking for people to ask questions, I think it's important to also note that, look, my programs are tools, their offerings are tools, and you guys are customers. If you receive something from one organization and you still have needs, explore others. Go to the back, look at all of our participating lenders, shop around, contact other institutions, see what they have. You guys are in need, and there's no rule that says you have to stick with one thing and one thing only. The Texas Microbusiness Disaster Recovery Loan Program provides 0 interest loans to the lenders so that they have lower risk and more capital to make loans, right? So we're all about expanding access for all of you. So please feel free to shop around, explore. You know, I don't know if you can get 10 grants, but I certainly advocate for you guys getting 10 grants. I want you to fully recover and thrive. I want Kerrville to sit at the top of the economic development of Texas, you know? So please, you know, look around, talk to people, take advantage of the gentlemen that are here, do everything in your power to get whatever you need for help.
It makes a great point. We have multiple tools in our tool bag, all of us do. So the funds I use for the grant program and for our 0% loan program right now, I have other sources of funding that I can, you know, see if I can qualify you for something else. We all do. We all participate in the state's programs and SBA programs, you know, and then we have private funders who come up and say, hey, we want to help you do something over there. This is on a program, you know, for what we want to do, for the impact that we want to have. So we have multiple tools.
Hi, I'm Sherry Shine, and I have my own business, a tea cottage in Ingram, that was not affected by the flood, other than having to close for a month. My husband's business went down there. His was run out of our barn. But my question is, if he needs a loan and if I wanted to also expand my business, is that possible? I know for him it would be possible to go get a loan, but what about those of us who are also in the area but not necessarily losing our business or part of our business because of the flood? Can we still apply?
I'll jump in from the state perspective really quickly and then pass along to them. So the reason that I brought flyers in the back for both of our programs, Texas Small Business Credit Initiative and Micro Business Disaster Recovery Program, is TSBCI offers a loan guarantee program and a capital access program. Both of those, again, receive substantial federal funding allocated to the state as state funds that we use to incentivize lenders to make loans to businesses that might be on the periphery of their normal underwriting. Now, they're certainly eligible to take that funding and use it for loans they would have made otherwise. I don't want them to tell me that, but you know, the real goal is to expand capital access. So we have, I think, about 20 lenders listed on the flyer in the back under the TSBCI program. All of those are actively enrolling loans with us, and they're actively broadening that umbrella to help businesses like you. And there's no requirement that they're impacted by any sort of disaster. You need to be a business that's got 500 or fewer employees, which I bet yours does. So there's very few restrictions on it, and it's sort of like the SBA offerings, but different. It comes from a different federal funding source. So a lot of the things that kind of hang up some businesses when they're trying to get those SBA-backed loans are not issues for our program. So again, I encourage people to explore SBA offerings, explore our offerings, explore things that don't even require our assistance. But there's 20 lenders listed on that paper in the back that I certainly suggest that you start reaching out to and shopping around. And then for the micro, for your husband's business, the Micro Business Disaster Recovery Program is specifically for people who are directly impacted by declared disasters. And I should say, although it's not relevant to this, you may pass on your experience in the future. There's disasters that are locally designated, state designated, or federally designated. All of those disasters, no matter what they are, count for the program. So I encourage you guys to explore the options we have in the back.
No, the answer is yes and yes. For us, without any doubts, your husband's business that was directly impacted, but earlier today I was telling you that actually it was a non-profit that they have been directly impacted because they cannot be asking for money when people are rebuilding homes, right? So they have indirectly been impacted. So who's going to say no to that, right?
Hi, I'm here actually from one of the local churches as a case manager for advocate for people in general who've been affected. I guess I'm a little disillusioned by what I thought this fair was, and I'm hearing a lot about loans, which I appreciate y'all being here and giving what you can about loans. But to be honest, I'm a little disheartened that there's been nothing about how we can get grants and money into the hands of people who are affected hundreds of thousands of dollars. And just hearing that you take away 0% loans if you take the lift $10,000, when these businesses have lost hundreds of $1,000s. So they would have to give you back the $10,000 to get a 0% loan is very heartbreaking. I'm trying to figure out from a case management side how I help a small business coming through our program in a way that doesn't put them in debt for 30 years. So if somebody can answer that question, I think that's what everybody in this room really cares about.
Thank you.
That is a question and comment that we get a lot.
And there is no good answer to that question. The three of us up here again, we depend on partnerships with philanthropists, other organizations, even the financial institutions that we partner with. We depend on them to help us provide the funding so that we can be the intermediary, the conduit to get this money out to you. And sometimes, while we understand the need and no, I don't want more debt right now because I can't afford it, it doesn't make sense. But sometimes our partners say, you know, we want to make sure you're using this money correctly. We want to make sure you're helping small businesses. But they also want to see that money gets returned in some way, shape, or form. And no, it's not what you wanted to hear. I don't have a good answer for that. We try to get money, the small grants, into your hands as quickly as possible. And we try to get low-cost capital into your hands. The rates that we're offering on our disaster loans, yes, it's a payment, and it may be a 5 to 20-year commitment. But I believe all of us here are willing to offer below interest or below market rate loans, 0%, 7%, 5%. It's still a loan, it still has to be repaid. But we're making concessions to bring down the cost to the small businesses as much as possible.
I would add that we have here in this conference the Chambers of Commerce that are providing grants, and you can apply there, you can apply with the USDA. People Fund has a different program that has a grant associated with it, which is 10%, but that's sure. That's in addition to the loan. But again, our, Adrian was describing, our core business is about providing concessionary returns, right? Loan capital, and very flexible when other organizations, financial institutions cannot. But again, I would highlight the availability of grants from the chambers and the USDA. And of course, the very flexible capital that the SBA is providing for disaster. And then we come behind that, right, to partner with banks and do what other institutions cannot.
And I'll just say from my own perspective, as an administrator at the Office of Government, we have the tools that are granted to us by the Texas legislature. And we do everything in our power to make those available, to make ourselves rapidly responsive. But we are only granted what we have. So I certainly, in a representative democracy, I certainly encourage everyone to, reach out to their legislator, try to discuss some of these extremely valid and necessary concerns that you have. And through that sort of bottom-up social change, there's a potential that a bill could be passed that then gets allocated to the state, and next time I come up here, I might be able to have something like that. But under the current circumstances, I can advertise the offerings that we have, but I certainly do appreciate your viewpoint wholeheartedly on a personal level. So.
And let me add one more thing. We as an industry, the CDFIs, we are always advocating and talking to policymakers, lobbyists, however we can, wherever we can, to find creative programs or suggest creative programs to where we can come up with some type of maybe forgivable debt program or something. We're always out there, we as an industry, we're always out there advocating to how can we help small businesses, especially small businesses in need.
Adrian, I'm going to hop in there real quick with the broken mic, apparently. Just turn it on. Oh, just turn it on. Oh.
Turn it off and
maybe I'm the one who's broken. So thank you so much for asking that question. It's obvious that many people here have that same exact concern. I think in the last panel we mentioned how, or someone made the comment how no one wants to incur debt when the future is so uncertain. I mean, just doing that right now in this period seems like, why? I'm going backwards before I go forward. So I'm absolutely thrilled to hear this concern from everyone. I have my boss here. And while we can't make the promises that a grant program will be created, I can make the promise, I'll take this concern back to the office of the governor. So thank you so much. She heard this, and we're going to have some discussions. But as RJ just mentioned, we are kind of confined with state government and the laws that exist. But as a small business advocate, I assure you, I will advocate on your behalf. Thank you.
Can I say something?
Got someone up. She's right in front.
I just want to say that probably a lot of people here, like us, have heard that there's just hundreds of millions of dollars that are coming for our help. And it's hard for a little bitty business like us to incur the debt, to think that the next 20, 30 years that we should be having a little bit of an easier time, that we can't. And I know you guys, the Texas community, the world, is wanting to help. And I want to just take this moment to say thank you to people who are really giving help. Not that you guys aren't, but the churches, the people who have given are really helping little bitty people like us. They have made such a difference in that outreach and generosity has really made a difference. And I hope that the funds that you guys are being given can find a way also to help us, because we really do need it.
I apologize.
Okay, so there was a tool that helped small businesses during COVID, and it was called a PPE loan. And it saved us. It is what kept us afloat, no pun intended. And if the government can figure out how to give the whole of the United States a PPE loan and still survive, my gut says that Governor Abbott has to be able to find a way to give us a PPE loan that allows us to keep our employees employed. We're not asking for a handout. We're asking to help us keep our head above water as we make it through. None of us are trying to just take money. That's not in our nature. We're here to make money, right? And to make this town great again. But we need something like the PPE loan that allows us to do that allows us as a business to reinvest in our community, to reinvest in our staff, to reinvest in our tools, and all of those things. And I have to believe that you have the right people here to hear that loud and clear, that is the tool. We already have it. Somebody created it somewhere. I don't know where the mechanism is, but somebody already has a format for this that can help us. And we're just a little county here. We are not that big of a thing. And so please take that back and find that for us, because that's what we need.